Like many Americans, Amanda and Kyle are used to flying. They work in digital marketing in Portland on the west coast of the United States, and on this 5th of January 2024, they board a Boeing.
We were traveling to see my family. My family's in California, and we hadn't seen them for 6 months prior to that. So we were really excited to see them.
Welcome to you aboard Alaska Airlines. Place smaller bags underneath the seat in front of you. Still larger bags in the overhead bin.
They settle calmly into their seats in row 27.
We started taking off, and I settled in, and I thought it was going to be fine. I closed my eyes. And the next thing I know, I wake up to a loud bang. And we both really quickly looked, and there's just a hole in the side of the plane.
Alaska, trouble here, declare emergency, we're descending down to 10,000, full seat right.
And it's right there in our vision. So I was kind of staring at it for most of the time, just like, okay, like that happened. I'm trying to, stay focused, stay calm.
Yes, we are emergency, we are depressurized, we do need to return back.
A few minutes later, the cabin is plunged into darkness. Kyle and Amanda grab their oxygen masks. All the passengers are paralyzed with fear.
But it was just so scary to be feeling that wind come through.
We have 177 passengers.
There was just 20 minutes of us in the air looking at each other, thinking, what is going to happen? Is this our last few moments alive?
Fortunately, the pilot manages to land the plane. The outcome is miraculous with only minor injuries. It was a close call because Amanda almost sat in that seat.
Our row was full. So our initial thought, I whispered to him and I said, do you want to ask the only man if he would switch with us? Had I been sitting there, I not only wouldn't be here, but I probably would have exited the plane when that hole opened up. I think about that every day.
Yeah. Not sure when or if we'll fly
we'll
again.
ever get on a plane. I can't use my hair dryer without thinking about the door plug opening because the sound of the wind was very similar.
The day after the accident, NTSB agents, tasked with investigating aviation disasters, thoroughly inspect the aircraft. Their conclusion? It was indeed a manufacturer error. Before takeoff, 4 securing bolts were missing on the left rear door of this Boeing, freshly out of the factory.
We are angry with Boeing. It feels like they don't care about the safety of a lot of their customers, but it also feels like they don't care about our lives.
For Boeing, 2024 is marked by a series of increasingly dramatic accidents. In March, a tire detaches during takeoff. The plane must make an emergency landing. On June 5th, there are 402 people on board this Toronto-Paris flight.
Holy crap! We've got an engine fire.
The plane is forced to land immediately. Upon arrival, fortunately, no injuries.
Oh my God, it's on fire!
And it keeps happening.
Oh my God!
Until these terrifying images, a 737 at Muan Airport in South Korea. The plane's landing gear fails to deploy. The Boeing crashes into a wall built at the end of the runway. Outcome: 179 deaths. In the midst of the storm, the company's top executives stick to one strategy: reassuring the public at all costs, as seen in this filmed interview from early 2024.
Mr. Kelly, what's your message to passengers concerned about flying on your planes?
We fly safe planes. We don't put airplanes in the air that we don't have 100% confidence in.
These planes, you know them. You may have even flown on them. Boeing represents nearly half of the global air fleet, carrying over 2 billion passengers in 2024. But what's happening inside Boeing's factories? We conducted an investigation and exclusively gathered testimonies from the aerospace giant's employees. They report serious manufacturing issues.
These planes, I can't say that they're safe. And to go in there and see the lack of care, lack of responsibility in building these airplanes is absurd. So it's sickening.
These employees now live in fear. Last year, 2 of these whistleblowers died under suspicious circumstances.
Whistleblower John Barnett was found dead in his truck, which was parked in a hotel parking lot garage.
In this toxic atmosphere, employees are at their breaking point. Late last year, they overwhelmingly voted to strike, halting production for 7 weeks.
I'm fed up with being treated like just another piece of garbage. I'm pretty sure I built the 2 airplanes that crashed.
Is there reason to fear Boeing today? Investigation into the biggest scandal in aviation history. Our investigation begins with Dennis Steger. He is a commercial pilot. 30 years flying Boeing for American Airlines. He is also the spokesperson for the largest independent pilots union in the United States. Pilots extremely worried about this series of accidents. All were convinced, like Dennis, that Boeing machines were infallible. As a young man, Dennis began his career as a fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force.
Here's a picture of me as a captain, and this is the airplane that I flew in the military. It's a Boeing 707, probably taken, let's see here, right before Desert Storm.
In 1991, Dennis Steger participated in the Gulf War at the controls of this Boeing.
The gray airplane right there, it saved my life. And we stretched that airplane. The airplane I flew in combat, Boeing's airplane, I pushed it to the edge. We did it because it was wartime, and it never let us down. It protected us from the enemy outside the airplane without fail. And now, it's like the enemy is within.
Dennis Steger flies the 737, Boeing's bestseller, the best-selling jet in the history of civil aviation. He also flies its new version, the 737 MAX. A plane designed for medium-range flights, up to 7 hours of flight, carrying between 150 and 220 passengers. The pilot has listed all the technical issues with this model. At every takeoff, he follows a very precise checklist. But on the 737 MAX, he has his own little ritual. A good old post-it note that looks a bit out of place in his ultra-sophisticated cockpit.
There we go. And he cleared us for takeoff? Okay. All right, up to 10, roger that. We get him up to 40 here.
Rotate.
You're up. 17,000 is in the window. We're continuing our climb up. I see some weather buildups. I would probably turn on the weather radar so I can see beyond and where the clouds are if we have any storms. When we climb through the clouds, the engine's taking in that moisture because of the pressure change can cause ice to form on the engine and on the blades and the cowling.
To prevent these engines from freezing, the 737 MAX is equipped with an in-flight de-icing system, like all modern aircraft. Except on the MAX. If this system runs too long, it overheats, hence his reminder note.
Because of the way this engine is designed improperly at the moment, the heat that would keep the engine free of ice is so intense that if you're out of the clouds like we are now, in 5 minutes, it could heat up the engine so intensely that the engine could start to break apart. Pieces of it could penetrate the fuselage and injure passengers behind the wing. So there's a limitation of 5 minutes in clear air. We've got to get these switches off. If we don't do this right, people could die. And anytime I'm looking down, that'll capture my attention. And I will remind my first officer, hey, don't forget, we've got a 5-minute limit.
Boeing identified this design flaw and shared the information with airlines and all their pilots. But to this day, it still hasn't been fixed. And it's not the only problem. On the 737 MAX, there are others. According to this directive, issued early 2024 by the US Department of Transportation, cables are improperly positioned, prone to wearing out very quickly.
Improper spacing can lead to cable damage, causing unintended movements of the ailerons and resulting in loss of aircraft control.
Last September, the NTSB published this report. This time, it concerns the aircraft's rudder pedals, which tend to get stuck.
And could cause sudden unwanted trajectory changes, sufficient to result in loss of control.
And there's yet another risk with the 737 MAX. It's related to birds, getting caught in the engines, a danger all pilots worldwide face. But here too, according to Dennis Steger, because the MAX's engines were designed differently, the likelihood of an accident is higher than on other models.
Right after takeoff, bird goes into the engine. That oil is not contained in this system. It dumps into the burner, and then that burner makes it smoke, and it immediately goes into either the cabin where the passengers are or into the cockpit, depending on which engine.
Incidents that have already occurred twice. Like on this flight from Cuba to Florida in March 2023. Nine months later, same cause. This time, the smoke is contained in the cockpit.
Southwest 554, emergency aircraft. We need to return. Catastrophic damage.
On this issue too, Boeing has not yet provided a technical solution.
The pilots have reported they could only see about 10 inches in front of them. Are you kidding me? I am at a heightened state of alert when I'm on a 737 MAX. Everything you do to the most minute detail, if you don't do it right, it's going to land in my office. And I may have an emergency, and you might put 170 or more lives at risk.
The worst case scenario has already happened. On October 18th, 2018.
A plane crashed in Indonesia. A Boeing 737 from Indonesian airline Lion Air crashed into the sea.
The accident killed 189 people, one of the worst in the last 10 years. And a few weeks later,
it is Sunday, March 10th. Here are the news headlines. A Boeing 737 from Ethiopian Airlines crashed after takeoff from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. All 157 people on board died.
The following day, aviation authorities worldwide take drastic measures. The 737 MAX planes are grounded. The flight ban lasts 18 months, unprecedented in the civil aviation sector. At this stage, the cause of these disasters is still unknown. But the black boxes will soon reveal their secrets. We're about to find out in Toulouse, the aeronautics capital of Europe. We'll call him Nicolas, he's French, a commercial pilot working for a European airline. Since he was a child, he's been passionate about aviation and model planes.
There's a bit of military and a lot of civilian.
A passion he shares with his wife.
No, it doesn't fit. It's fine. We're compulsive collectors. We buy more kits than we could ever build. We need to calm down, or I'll get a visit from the shrinks.
Nicholas prefers to remain anonymous, fearing repercussions from his testimony. The pilot mainly flies the Boeing 737 MAX.
Visually, you recognize it like this. The engines have serrated edges and above all, those double winglets pointing up and down.
From the start, the 737 MAX suffered from being poorly conceived, rushed to market. To understand, we need to go back to 2014. Boeing's main rival, Airbus, made a big move by launching its A320neo, a highly efficient new version of its A320. It consumes 20% less fuel. The argument resonates with airlines worldwide.
We have 60 customers already, 3,257 aircraft in the order book. This is the start of the most successful aircraft for Airbus and in the aerospace industry, well beyond 2030.
At the time, Boeing had no equivalent offering. American executives then made a choice. Instead of designing a completely new plane, which takes time and a lot of money, they developed a new version of their 737 in record time.
They produced this plane extremely quickly during its design and testing phases. As they installed larger engines, it altered the plane's performance, particularly its center of gravity.
To compensate for this imbalance, Boeing integrated a flight assistance software, the MCAS.
Since these engines will move forward, when you throttle up, the plane pitches up. And if it pitches too much, it risks stalling. So the role of MCAS was to bring the plane's nose back down.
Boeing didn't inform its direct clients, the airlines, nor the pilots, to avoid having to pay for additional training.
No one was aware of the MCAS's existence. It wasn't even mentioned in our flight manual.
This software caused the crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia. This lack of transparency has left a mark on pilots.
Confidence in this plane is really shaken. At the moment, it still feels like a bit of a Pandora's box. We wonder what we are going to discover again. What will be a problem?
Among pilots, there's always some fear, but here, it's more pronounced, wondering if it's still safe to fly this plane. There's an anxiety, in fact, facing such a problem. I don't know. I'm in uncertainty and fear, inevitably.
On his way to work, to the airport, he denounces this commercial war where financial interests override everything else.
Aviation is a secure environment because historically, it's an environment that learned from its mistakes and where honesty prevails. When a pilot makes a mistake, they report it. And here, Boeing, they didn't admit they did something wrong. And that honesty, that transparency, suddenly, it vanished. And that's terrible. It's really tarnished. A prestigious history for the sake of profitability.
To uncover what broke the Boeing machine, we head back to the United States. It's in the northwest of the country, in Seattle, where the myth was born. A city of 4 million inhabitants located on the Pacific Ocean, the major industrial hub of the region. The story of the American manufacturer is almost too perfect. It dates back to the early days of aviation.
Flying machines were still a novelty at the time.
In 1916, William Boeing, a young engineer, was already passionate about a mode of transportation that seemed revolutionary.
William Boeing was thrilled by the experience. What began as a holiday lark became one of the world's greatest airplane companies.
Boeing distinguished itself from the start with a keen sense of innovation and unmatched reliability. From the 1960s, its engineering teams began designing iconic models like the 747, the 767, and the 777, the record-breaking plane, capable of carrying up to 500 passengers. Boeing was then at its peak. The company employed up to 200,000 workers. All worked in the Seattle area with their families. The children then take up the torch from their parents with pride. This Boeing spirit is still today the bond of the Mayers family, working at the manufacturer across 2 generations. Merle and his wife Cindy keep the traces of it.
Yeah, that was late 90s, early 2000. That was my mom.
She was a Montana girl.
Originally from a poor state in the northern US, Merle Myers' mother, Darlene, worked at Boeing for over 40 years.
She hired in 1973, and we were very poor, and Boeing really changed our lives, definitely economically. And she started out as a clerk.
Yeah, she bought her own house. Not very many single women did that back in that day.
Yeah, she was one of the first in Seattle to build her own credit after a divorce. You know, it's why people come to this country, to be able to have a job you love and raise a family. So this has been the American dream.
Darlene Mayers climbs the corporate ladder until she was promoted to manager, quality control branch.
That's her behind the stick. And then behind her on the back wall would be a placard with her signature etched in it, her name. I'm responsible for the quality of this airplane.
Yep.
Merle Myers spent most of his Boeing years in the same department as his mother.
My job at Boeing was to manage the quality segregation area. So when Boeing would receive bad parts or parts with rejections from the supplier, we would take those parts and segregate them, make sure they're secured and kept away from the production system.
Initially, Merle thrives in his position. But in 2015, first alert, he realizes that certain parts, which his department deemed non-compliant, are being put back into circulation on the assembly lines. 3 examples of this component in particular.
That's the pressure bulkhead right there, installed without authorization.
A critical part, located at the front, it maintains a bearable pressure level in the fuselage. Its labels, around the edge of the part, indicate defects. Yet it will be installed as is on an airplane, without Merle knowing. For this quality inspector, it's first and foremost a matter of pace. His superiors have an obsession, not slowing down the production line. This long series of emails attests to this. For 6 years, Merle tirelessly alerts his superiors.
The unauthorized return of these defective parts to Boeing's production lines is a violation of processes Pro 5500, BPI 1178, and BP 1149. Our data in 2021 shows 96 unauthorized movements of parts at the Everett sites and Renton. The number of moved parts increases each year.
This correspondence will remain unanswered. No measures will be taken by management.
What would your mother say about the company right off to date?
She'd be rolling in her grave.
For Merle, everything changed on August 4th, 1997. Boeing merges with one of its main competitors.
This is a spectacular and wonderful day. The merger of Boeing and McDonnell Douglas is now complete. So we're going to try to find the most economical way to do the job.
McDonnell Douglas, number 3 in the sector. is then led by a team primarily focused on profitability. Gradually, Boeing's engineers will be sidelined. Innovation and excellence take a back seat. Priority goes to financial results. And initially, the strategy works. Sales explode. A record is reached in the last semester of 2018. Boeing signs $30 billion in contracts. The air transport market is then booming. The number of passengers has tripled in 20 years.
Your shares of Boeing continuing to soar. CEO Dennis Muilenburg this morning, and we talked about the company's growth, its stock price, which has been, of course, remarkable.
We had promised production ramp up. We're now delivering on that ramp up. And you can see the profitability that's hitting the bottom line as well. So it's efficiency in our production lines, efficiency in our supply chain.
The stock price soars. In September 2016, it trades at $130. March 2019, it's worth $440. Boeing is then extremely generous to its executives. Salary, shares, and bonuses included, here's the evolution of their compensation. The last 3 executives earn over $30 million per year. That's 10 times more than their predecessors earned at the time of the merger. The top prize goes to Dennis Muilenburg with $60 million per year. During his years leading the manufacturer, Muilenburg fully benefits from the stock price surge. The sudden wealth of its executives shocks employees like Merle. He no longer recognizes himself in this new corporate culture, the opposite of what was Boeing's DNA, technical performance and loyalty.
I love it. It's to commemorate 30 years of service with the Boeing company. It's got 3 diamonds in it for each decade. It's got the Boeing logo on the side. It's kind of like the person that lost their loved one, the widow, and they still have the ring on.
Merle believes that his Boeing has truly disappeared and that this race for profit hides bad practices. In 2023, he is pushed out by management.
They had 15 years of me identifying problems and them pushing them aside, not doing anything to correct the problem. They could have fixed everything in-house. But now, since they refused time after time for 15 years, now the world gets to know about it.
In Seattle, what happens inside the factories is a well-kept secret. We reached out to Boeing multiple times during our investigation, without success. The former quality inspector has witnesses for us to meet.
Take your time.
Despite his departure from the company, he still has strong friendships within. This man works at the main assembly site of the aircraft manufacturer.
Is anything being implemented that's positive on the floor?
Not really. Not what I've seen. They talk a lot, but the actions don't follow up.
Are you surprised at this?
No. Hurry up. Do the job as fast as you can. Cut corners if you can. It's still happening. It hasn't changed. Inability of supervisors or managers to understand what's going on. Their expectations are still too high, and they want to go too fast. It's still happening. I see them trying to take shortcuts, not follow the process completely, as already documented. So they don't want to follow the existing instructions on how to do what we do. They pressure to do things and expect it done overnight or at that moment. And it just doesn't always work out that way.
And they do go around quality as well.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And why do you want to stay anonymous?
I'm just concerned about retaliation. And that's pretty much it.
Valid concern.
In this parking lot, Merle has a meeting with another key witness, who dares to speak openly. He holds a strategic position in the organization.
How's retirement kind of being able to, you have a lot more free time, imagine.
Sam Mohawk is a quality inspector on the assembly line of the highly controversial 737 MAX. And he believes that what he observes today is too serious to remain silent. For him, it's the successive layoffs that have sealed the manufacturer's fate. In 15 years, the company has let go of a third of its workforce.
Before, we had a pretty good training structure where individuals would get months of training prior before even coming on onto the airplanes. And then once on their airplanes, they usually have a mentor program where they're there with kind of an old timer to walk them through and make sure they're doing the steps constantly correctly. There's really no one there that's kind of the old timer there to train them anymore.
Since the crashes of the planes he worked on, Sam is on edge.
These planes, I can't say that they're safe. And to go in there and see the lack of care, lack of responsibility in building these airplanes, it's absurd. So it's sickening. I'm afraid of an airplane going down. That would wear on my conscience. Sorry. It's frustrating. There's a lot of people we killed because of greed. And to see that greed still happen and put people's lives at risk, yeah, it's sad. You're sitting in here yelling at into a brick wall. Sorry, guys.
According to Sam Mohawk, there are still 737 MAX planes in circulation today that could have technical failures. By daring to come out of anonymity, the man has drawn the wrath of his management.
It's their tactic every single time. They're just saying, we're just a disgruntled employee out there trying to, discredit the company for some reason. And I work at this company. I want the company to succeed. And the only reason I am whistleblowing is to save the company. Internally, I can't get any change done. So the public needs to know what's happening in there so to force our regulators to act.
Sam Mohawk says he's been threatened since his testimony.
I'm very careful with the bike. Yeah, I use it as a my commuter, so I'm going back and forth to work, especially when I come home because it's kind of not very many people on the road. I have to watch who's behind me, hopefully not get run off the road or in an accident. Makes us kind of be left on the side of the road. So it kind of makes you paranoid.
If Sam is wary of everything today, it's because two recent events involving two other whistleblowers like him are cause for concern. In 2024, two former Boeing collaborators who dared to speak out die one after the other, weeks apart. Joshua Dean first, employee of Boeing's main supplier, Spirit Aerosystems. He had reported discovering serious manufacturing defects in the fuselage of the 737 MAX. He dies of a bacterial infection at the age of 45. A second death raises even more questions. That of John Barnett. On March 8, 2024, in this motel in the suburbs of Charleston, South Carolina, the surveillance camera records the last images of John Barnett. He enters. Then at 8:37 p.m., he leaves the establishment. The next day, his lifeless body is found in the parking lot, a bullet in the head. The 62-year-old man was in the middle of a legal procedure against Boeing.
Just days after testifying against the company, whistleblower John Barnett was found dead in his truck, which was parked in a hotel parking lot garage.
From what the coroner calls an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The Barnett case dates back to 2011. That year, the American manufacturer relocates part of its production to Charleston, South Carolina. Its large airliner in particular, the 787 Dreamliner. A first for Boeing, which had always built its planes in Seattle. The decision is primarily economic. Labor costs much less and is less unionized in the southern United States.
I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, your Boeing South Carolina built 787
John Barnett is sent to the site to start production. During our investigation, we found one of his colleagues, far from the Boeing factory, in this hangar lost in the middle of nowhere in Michigan. Roy Irving was a mechanic on John Barnett's team. He still repairs planes, but for pleasure now.
John Barnett came to help stand up the new site in Boeing, South Carolina, as a quality manager on the floor. He was there to kind of teach us all the Boeing processes and you know, as a brand new site, so a lot of the people there were inexperienced. So he was brought in to help stand that up.
John Barnett will be the first to report serious malfunctions on the assembly lines. According to the mechanic, he will face strong pressure from his management.
I was really surprised to hear that he had taken his own life. I don't necessarily believe it, knowing John and as close as he was to his family and the fight that he was fighting, he didn't seem to be discouraged. And I would also be surprised if he would let the Boeing company win like that by taking his own life.
Following his friend's death, Roy chose to leave Boeing.
It was very toxic at the Boeing company. Very hostile work environment. Boeing seems to be a hot spot for, you know, heart attacks, strokes.
The police investigation concluded it was a suicide, and Boeing was never directly implicated. The family is still in a lawsuit against the aircraft manufacturer. In 2024, Boeing doesn't leave the headlines.
13 people have been rushed to the hospital after the pressurization system on a Korean air flight malfunctioned.
On June 22nd, these passengers on Korean Airlines flight KE-189 just experienced an 8,000-meter drop in less than 15 minutes, before the pilot managed to stabilize the plane. Then this other incident in November. These explosions visible at the right engine of this 787. The plane also has to make an emergency landing. There's also this KLM 737 that ends its run off the runway. The cause, a failure in the hydraulic system. In total, no fewer than 20 serious accidents mark the year. And even if responsibilities are not yet established, these terrifying images in South Korea, dated the 29th of December 2024, mark the worst year in the aircraft manufacturer's history. A 737 crashes into a wall, which should never have been built there. "2025 doesn't start any better. On the 13th of March, on the tarmac of Denver Airport, this American Airlines 737 had just landed. It catches fire. There will be 12 injuries. It's this series of disasters that the families of the 737 MAX crash victims want to stop. Catherine Bate lost her daughter Camille in the Ethiopian Airlines flight. At 28, she had just landed a job at an international NGO.
This was at the very beginning of her work in humanitarian aid. And that day, she sent me a photo saying, "I'm really in the heart of Africa. I'm at the center of Africa's plot." She was very proud.
On the 10th of March 2019, Camille takes off for Kenya. 6 minutes after takeoff, the Boeing 737 MAX crashes.
This is a photo her boyfriend took. I came across it by chance shortly after the crash. She's walking away, there are clouds in the sea, and it hit me hard, but I think this photo is beautiful. It's like she's saying goodbye to me.
Catherine meets with the other families of the victims once a month. They've formed an association.
Hi, Hello.
On board, there were passengers from 34 nationalities.
Hi.
He tracks all incidents involving Boeing planes and relays them to the media.
Nadia, it's good to see you.
Their goal is to alert the public so their story isn't forgotten.
Yesterday, there was a MAX that declared an emergency in Rome, near Rome, Italy, and another one that declared an emergency in India.
We know these planes are unsafe and they're dangerous. This is a ticking time bomb.
Ça fait des années qu'on dit qu'il va y avoir un autre crash, que personne n'écoute.
Well,
and it has to happen on either European grounds or in American grounds. Because the fact it happened in Indonesia and Ethiopia has had a major impact, and that's why Boeing knew that they could cover up certain facts, because at the end of the day, no matter what you say, people are going to say, well, it happened in Ethiopia, the pilots, the airlines, you know, it's a third world country. And that's what got into people's heads.
Against the Boeing machine, the families feel like they don't carry much weight. But they don't give up. Their demand remains unchanged, that those they consider responsible, the company's top executives, be brought to justice.
The only way the truth comes out is through a trial. And we demand that not only Boeing be held accountable, but we demand its executives be held accountable. And the executives include the CEO, meaning the CEO at the time of the crashes, named Muilenburg, and the next president, Dave Calhoun, who endorsed all this and continued, in fact. This cover-up and these lies.
The family's fight scored its first points in 2021. 2 years after the Ethiopian Airlines crash, the largest parliamentary investigation ever undertaken in the United States on Boeing begins. Over 18 months of an extraordinary investigation, during which the company's leadership will have to explain itself publicly. Remember Dennis Muilenburg, who boasted about his spectacular results on television.
We had promised production ramp-up. We're now delivering on that ramp-up.
And Dave Calhoun, who assured that his planes were trustworthy.
We fly safe planes. We don't put airplanes in the air.
They will be questioned by leading American politicians. Under the leadership of Peter DeFazio, Democratic representative for 36 years and chairman of the Transportation Committee.
We're here today because 346 people, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, died on 2 MAX aircraft within a 5-month period. Something went drastically wrong. Objection.
Facing him that day, Dennis Muilenburg has a rough time.
I want to explain an administrative.
Mr. Chairman, and I'd grown up on a farm in Iowa. My parents taught me the value of hard work and integrity.
Kept saying, I'm just farm boy from Iowa. About the third time he said it, I had the family sitting there. They just all groaned. And I said, you're not, the farm boy from, you're the CEO.
And each of the families told us the stories about the lives that were lost. And those were heartbreaking. I'll never forget that.
After Muilenburg left with his $63 million golden parachute.
His successor, David Calhoun, is also questioned by major American elected officials.
You were the right person to correct course.
The hearing takes place in June 2024, in the middle of this nightmare year for the aircraft manufacturer.
I think the truth is, Mr. Calhoun, you're not focused on safety, you're not focused on quality, you're not focused on transparency. All of this is in the record, but I think actually you're focused on exactly what you were hired to do, which is that you're cutting corners.
I don't recognize any of the Boeing you described.
Really?
And I want to assure...
You don't recognize the Boeing that has airplanes falling out of the sky? That's the reality of Boeing today. That's your company that you have created. Now, I don't recognize it either from the company it used to be decades ago, but under your leadership, that's what Boeing is, and you're being rewarded for it handsomely. $33 million a year. It's unbelievable. If anybody's coming out of this deal good, it's you.
So there's no consequences for these people. This was all driven by greed. It's all about the stock. You know, I mean, the whole thing is not, it's just driven by Wall Street.
David Calhoun will leave Boeing's leadership a few weeks later. Like Dennis Muhlenberg, he too has not yet been troubled by the justice system. The reason is simple. Boeing carries weight in Washington, the American political capital.
Boeing moved their headquarters from Seattle to Washington, D.C., because there we can try and influence Congress and the regulators more easily. Just incredible stuff.
When in 2021, these 737 MAX planes are grounded, Boeing ramps up lobbying efforts to get permission for them to fly again. The company and its subsidiaries increase their contributions to political figures. The practice is completely legal in the United States with no limits. Katja Schwenk is an investigative journalist. She tracked everything Boeing spent on its political contributions.
This is all public. You can see just how much money Boeing is spending, whining and dining and to push for favorable legislation. So, we can see just how much this money impacts it.
The journalist reviewed the list of recipients. Politicians from both sides, Democrats and Republicans. She looked, for example, at the case of this elected official.
We have Ron Estes in Kansas.
Ron Estes is a representative from Kansas, a state where Boeing's main supplier is located, Spirit Aerosystems. In 2024, the politician received $105,000 for his election campaign from various players in the aerospace industry. A quid pro quo. Katja Schwenk uncovered this letter signed by the congressman. When the 737 MAX planes were grounded in 2020, Ron Estes openly questioned the FAA's flight ban. The U.S. Civil Aviation Regulatory Authority.
I am concerned about the FAA's process for returning the 737 MAX to service. It is not defined by a clear set of standards, nor criteria, nor a timeline.
In this letter, we see this lawmaker was worried about the profits of Boeing and of Boeing's subcontractor, which was in his district. He was getting money from both of these companies. And so this lawmaker asking the FAA to lift its ban on the 737 MAX to allow these planes to fly, despite the fact that there were extremely serious safety concerns.
The FAA is the government agency responsible for certifying all planes flying in U.S. airspace. The credibility of this institution is now seriously tarnished by the Boeing scandal.
You swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
This is Joe Jacobson, one of those engineers, who drops a bombshell during a congressional inquiry hearing.
My name is Joe Jacobson. I'm an aerospace engineer with almost 40 years of experience. From 1995 to 2021, I worked in aircraft certification at the FAA. The attitude right now is Boeing dictates to the FAA, tells the FAA what they will do, what they will accept, and that needs to change. The FAA needs to be a regulator. They need to do their job, and that's the missing piece right now.
Would it be fair to say that the FAA has been too captive to Boeing?
They absolutely have been too captive.
Within the FAA, Joe Jacobson's mission was to verify the compliance of Boeing's onboard systems. A behind-the-scenes job, he never imagined being at the center of such a scandal.
There's kind of a club mentality within aviation where people are encouraged to, toe the line and be part of the club. But in this case, people died.
At 62, the engineer chose early retirement, rather than endorse the bad practices he observed within the government agency.
I worked within the system, and what I saw was the system failed, the system was broken, and the system was corrupt. A lot of times at the working level, we would say, that's unacceptable. And then we would get a message from our upper management saying, what are you doing? Why are you questioning this? You're not part of their design team. You don't need to know those details. And so there was a tendency to try and cut off the engineers at the knees at times and tell them to back off.
For Joe Jacobson, the reason is simply economic. The civil aviation sector in the United States is 5% of its GDP. $10 million direct jobs and nearly 900 million passengers per year.
Our biggest export, I believe, is airplanes in dollars. They do a lot of military work. They're very, very important to the Defense Department. It's a huge economic engine for the United States.
Boeing was long among the top 10 largest companies in the country, a status that, according to Joe Jacobson, would explain the impunity the manufacturer has enjoyed. Now on Wall Street, it has largely lost its luster. The stock price has been in sharp decline since the Ethiopian Airlines crash on March 10, 2019. It then reached a record high, valued at nearly $440 in March 2025. It trades at less than $180. Since that day in 2019, Catherine Bertin has never stopped fighting. With the victims' families, she has already secured a first victory: the cancellation last December of a settlement agreement signed between Boeing and the US government. The aircraft manufacturer and its executives could well one day be caught up by the criminal justice system.